Good morning or good afternoon. This is Dr. Lawanda Cummings from the Florida Caribbean Lewis Stokes Regional Center of Excellence. Today, we're going to be going through a brief presentation around the customizing mindset interventions to navigate the isms of higher education and really looking at intersectionality as an institutional variable. Today, I'll be presenting on behalf of the center, but my co-author is Dr. Janae Chandler, a previous director at Santa Fe College, and I myself am the director at the University of the Virgin Islands. So we have two main learning objectives today. The first is to identify the elements of psychosocial barriers that contribute to STEM attrition among underrepresented minorities. We also are going to discuss the process and modalities for developing customized interventions using evaluation data to apply growth mindset intervention in STEM classrooms that really honor institutional diversity. And so I want to start out by just clarifying who we are. We are the Florida Caribbean Lewis Stokes Regional Center of Excellence, and we are funded through the National Science Foundation and NSF Includes. And we are part of the original 6 of the Lewis Stokes Regional Centers of Excellence, and we're funded in 2018. We are a part of a collaborative partnership between Santa Fe College, Community College, and the HBCU, the University of the Virgin Islands. And unlike some LSAMP initiatives that are focused on student performance or outcomes, we are charged to conduct research and to develop STEM implementation activities that will broaden participation in STEM, as well as to broadly disseminate our successful practices and contribute to the body of knowledge. What is really phenomenal about this particular center is that Santa Fe is the only community college that is actually leading one of these centers. And we do our work not by ourselves, but in collaboration with some amazing individuals with specialization in this area. Our social psychologists include Dr. Valerie Purdy-Greenaway and Dr. Omi Fatui, who work tirelessly in the development of these interventions. We also have faculty development experts like Diana Bowen and Dr. Miguel Hernandez, for different institutions that have specialization around growth mindset or cultural inclusion, or some of the other strategies that have been really important with the new situation in regards to COVID-19. And in particular, we are focused on the Central Florida LSAMP, the Florida Georgia LSAMP, and the Greater Alabama Black Belt Region LSAMP. And these are our partners. We have 6 institutions that have joined us in this critical work. And so I want to jump into our psychosocial barriers and psychological interventions. This particular center is really focused on intervention development around mindset. And mindset's really important because it really includes a set of beliefs or a way of thinking that determines a student or faculty member's behavior, outlook, and their mental attitude. And we know that in many ways, if you think you can or you think you can't, as Henry Ford said, you are correct in both estimations. And so we are in the process of helping our students, helping our faculty to rethink what it means to have a mindset that is focused on growth and development. And some of the factors that we know that contribute to underrepresentation includes concepts like stereotype threat. All of these are well documented in the literature. Issues around efficacy or agency and confidence around STEM content, implicit theories of intelligence, either thinking that people are smart or people are not, but not understanding the capacity for growth and mastery. We also see where students are sometimes lost in the system because of a sense of belonging, not feeling that they belong within the academic space or the colleges in which they attend, and our students having a lack of STEM identity. Now, above and beyond what we know in regards to these risk factors individually for students, we also found that within our 6 partnering institutions, there was a diversity in regards to the students that they were working with. This partnership between community colleges and HBCUs allowed us to really have an interesting focus on really students that may be non-traditional or any number or trade focused that are usually at these community colleges, or working with a HBCU or HSI that is focused primarily on a particular minority group. And so we found these 6 different ways of diversity that manifested for our institutions. They were either HBCUs, HSIs, or PWIs. They were either primarily serving rural or urban communities. We had institutions that were majority non-traditional or traditional. And all of these different ways of difference or diversity had a lot to do with what was the student population and their particular needs. And therefore, our customized intervention had to take that into consideration, that our students have interlocking realities that may have something to do with their estimation around their capabilities to do well in STEM. Therefore, we used all of this information in the process of customizing our intervention design. And so we incorporated student voice through focus group and surveys. We found inside that space that students had a different interpretation of struggle. Like, is this grounds for me to quit? Or do I do the work to overcome? We also saw for many of our students in STEM spaces, they saw help seeking as evidence of weakness. We worked on incorporating faculty voice and those data points, looking at student grades, as well as the evaluation feedback from our faculty after engaging in the interventions and the trainings that were provided. And that information allowed us to do some reframing of the variables that we had that was more customized to the faculty as well as the student populations of focus, using adaptive mindset, which is a new concept, ways in which we looked at support network and function, and looking at aspects of institutional mindset. So we really worked at using evaluation in the customization process. As you can see here, it was about the design of the program, about being able to focus the evaluation, be really clear on how to gather evidence and justify those conclusions of either successfully addressing or bringing the psychosocial intervention into play or not. And then also going back and assessing using benchmarks, whether or not they were successful or not, so that we could ensure loose use and share the lessons that we had learned to our stakeholders. It was really important for us to think of these things because we're building out standards around how do we reach out and do this customized work by focusing on the utility, the feasibility, the propriety, and the accuracy of the work that's being conducted. And we move forward into using these evaluations to ways in which we communicate to those that are a part of our stakeholder network. And that includes our team, the external evaluator, the advisory board. They all contributed to the development in regards to the psychological theory and interventions that were being developed. And then we also see on the other side, our community partners, our students, and our faculty. Their voices also became a part of how we built out these customized interventions. And our social psychologists helped us be able to ground these things in theory that was theory within the field. And the evaluation allowed us to deliberately build feedback loops with those who are stakeholders, because at the end of the day, we're building a community of believers and students that have growth mindset and are in a position to have success within the STEM realm. And so we see where these interventions ended up going through a type of evolution. The student interventions incorporated the evaluative data, and then we saw the factors shift so that they were more closely associated to student experiences. For faculty, the evaluation data allowed us to be able to look at how we could best address some of the new needs in regards to COVID-19 and ways our faculty had to pivot. And so I want to share a couple of our student-facing interventions. The first year, we really focused on value affirmation and implementation intention, but this wasn't really reflective of the needs of our students at these different institutions. So using the data as well as focus group data, we ended up looking at a new concept, and that is adaptive resilience. In year 2, we use that as our customized intervention, and it really recognized that certain students respond to difficulty by trying to get through it on their own. We also call this over efforting, right? I have to do well for my whole community, my whole family. And the research shows really that you need faculty, you need peers to actually be more effective in your learning process. And we want to be in a position to help students move away from the concept of resiliency as a solitary effort. Inside our faculty-facing interventions, we move to many more virtual experiences, as well as opportunities for training that was specific to this new pivot into virtual spaces. And we ended up with 8 different opportunities for faculty members to engage around growth mindset, to engage around psychosocial interventions, and hone their craft as they move into their classroom. But not only did we work on being responsive to what faculty needed in this season during COVID, we also created a bevy of online resources and Mindset STEM for STEM.org resources, where each of these trainings are not only available now, well, not only available when it was offered, but also thereafter. And we developed a professional learning community among the faculty members as well as liaisons using a PLC model so that our mindset ambassadors could begin to challenge the culture on their campus and bring theory to action in different types of research projects, applying these particular tools and also engaging reflective practice with peers. And so for us, there are some clear implications and recommendations. The first is that you need to incorporate the evaluation as soon as possible because it's critical in the formative stages of intervention development so that we don't fall into the trap of cookie cutter interventions. You also want to have an active evaluation team because that helps the program retain flexibility around how to customize and meet the needs of students and faculty. Also, these customized interventions require acknowledgement of how institutional diversity impacts the psychosocial needs of students and faculty. And it's important information for the person that's teaching and also for the institution in regards to building out structures for support and contextual support for students. We also want to point out that incorporating the voice of students, faculty, the team, and our evaluators within a feedback loop bolstered the project's success and allowed us to be able to be effective. So if you have any questions, please reach out here at my email. Here are some references, and thank you so much for your time.